This video has no pictures to watch, only a voice and a story. A story about something familiar, something small, something we see almost every day and almost never think about. In the dark, details emerge differently. Objects become systems, habits become infrastructure, and the quiet inventions that organize the world start to reveal their weight. Tonight, we enter the dark room for something made of only a few black lines, a symbol so ordinary that it disappears. The barcode, the lines that run the world. Before the barcode, there was a problem, but it didn't look like a problem. It looked like a supermarket. In the 1940s, the modern grocery store was exploding across America. Self-service shopping had arrived. Customers no longer asked clerks for products. They walked through aisles, picked items themselves, and carried them to a checkout counter. Convenient for shoppers, but for stores, it created chaos. Every item needed to be identified manually. Every price needed to be typed in by a cashier. Every inventory count required employees to walk the aisles and write numbers on clipboards. Mistakes were constant. Inventory data was slow. Reordering products was guesswork. The bigger stores became, the harder they were to manage. Retail had outgrown its tools, and nobody had solved it yet. In 1948, a frustrated supermarket executive visited the Drexel Institute of Technology in Philadelphia. He asked a simple question: could someone invent a system that would automatically read product information at checkout? The request sounded impossible. Machines that could read products did not exist. But a graduate student happened to overhear the conversation. His name was Bernard Silver. Silver told his friend Norman Joseph Woodland. Woodland was an engineer, but more importantly, he was curious. He believed the problem might have a solution, just not an obvious one. One day in 1949, Woodland went to visit his grandfather in Florida. He walked to the beach and began thinking, how could a machine read information instantly? Woodland remembered something from childhood. Morse code, dots and dashes, information translated into patterns. He started drawing in the sand, dots, dashes. Then he stretched the dots into lines, and suddenly the idea appeared. If information could be encoded in lines with different spacing and thickness, a machine might be able to read it. Woodland later said, I just extended the dots and dashes downward. That simple gesture would eventually reorganize global commerce. The first barcode did not look like the ones we know today. Woodland and Silver created a circular design. It looked like a target, a bullseye made of concentric rings. Why circular? Because early scanners were primitive. A circle could be read from any angle. They patented the idea in 1952, but the technology needed to make it work didn't exist yet. Lasers were not ready. Computers were enormous. Data processing was slow. The idea was brilliant, but the world wasn't ready. So the patent sat quietly, waiting. 20 years later, the problem returned. By the late 1960s, supermarkets had become massive. Thousands of products, endless inventory tracking. Stores were desperate for automation. Industry groups began searching again for a universal system. After years of debate, engineers proposed a new format, not circular, linear, parallel black bars. The design was cleaner, easier to print, more reliable for scanners. It became known as the Universal Product Code, the UPC, the barcode we recognize today. On June 26, 1974, in a Marsh supermarket in Ohio, history happened quietly. A cashier named Sharon Buchanan scanned a product. It was a pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit chewing gum. The scanner beeped. The computer recognized the code. The price appeared automatically. The first retail barcode scan had succeeded. Today, that pack of gum sits in the Smithsonian Museum, not because of the gum, because of the beep. The barcode did something subtle. It gave products an identity. Each set of lines represents a number. That number identifies the manufacturer, the product type, the packaging version. Suddenly, every item on a shelf had a digital identity. The physical world had gained a language. And once objects could be identified instantly, entire systems changed. Inventory became real-time. Supply chains became traceable. Warehouses became automated. Retail became data. Today, barcodes are everywhere. On food, on books, on airline tickets, on hospital wristbands, on packages traveling across continents. More than 10 billion barcode scans happen every day. That is more scans than Google searches. But we barely notice them because the barcode works best when it disappears. It sits quietly on packaging, silent, minimal, almost decorative. But behind those lines, a massive infrastructure is operating. Logistics systems, inventory databases, global product registries. The barcode is not just a symbol. It is the nervous system of commerce. The classic barcode still dominates, but new codes have appeared, QR codes. Instead of lines, they use squares. Instead of numbers, they can hold thousands of characters. Web links, payments, tickets, identity verification. In many ways, QR codes are the next generation of the same idea. Machines reading symbols to bridge the physical and digital worlds. The lines evolved, but the concept remained. The barcode changed something deeper. Before barcodes, the world of objects was messy. Humans interpreted it. After barcodes, objects began to explain themselves to machines. A scanner sees the code. A computer reads the number. A system updates inventory automatically. No interpretation required. It was one of the first steps toward the machine-readable world. A world where objects carry their own information, where systems know what things are without asking a person. The barcode did not create automation, but it made automation scalable. Bernard Silver died in 1963, before the barcode was ever used. Norman Woodland lived long enough to see his invention spread everywhere, but even he once admitted he did not fully understand what it would become. When they drew those lines in the sand, they thought they were solving a grocery store problem. They were actually inventing a universal language for objects. Today, every modern supply chain depends on barcodes. Factories use them. Hospitals rely on them. Airports track luggage with them. Without barcodes, global logistics would slow dramatically. Products would move slower. Errors would multiply. Prices would rise. The modern economy would still function, but it would feel heavier, slower, because a few thin lines quietly removed friction from billions of transactions. It's easy to overlook the barcode. It hides some packaging, small, minimal, almost forgettable. But those lines carry a quiet power. They allow machines to recognize the physical world. They allow systems to coordinate objects across continents. They allow modern commerce to move at the speed that we expect, all from a pattern first drawn in sand. So the next time you see a barcode on a package, you might notice something different. Not just the product, but the invisible system behind it. And how sometimes the inventions that shape the world are not the loudest one, just the one that disappear into everyday life. This was Darkroom Diaries. Stories fade slower in the dark.